Coming up next on In the Box Seat podcast.
Yeah. No, you know what? Actually, you know that filly gave us Grace.
Yes.
So she was on the KZN sales, and he contacted me before the sales about this filly. But by that time, I already had it entered. She's in the catalogue, everything. You know, it was like just a month or so before the sales. You know, he was almost borderline harassing me. I want that filly. Sell that filly to me. And I was like, if you want her, you can buy her on the sale.
Welcome to the first edition of In the Box Seat podcast of 2024. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all and welcome Andrew back and our very special guest today, who is Winnie Fourie. We'll talk to her. No, we won't talk to her in a moment. Ladies first. Winnie, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely fantastic, and hopefully you will get Andrew to behave, because normally he's unplayable, and now we've got a lady on the show. Hopefully he minds his P's and Q's.
He can go at it. I don't mind at all.
The first podcast of the new year, 2024. Where does the time go? Nice to be back after a little break that we had.
Little break. Break.
From the podcast we didn't break. From the podcast we had a break, but from other work we didn't break. I don't know if you've passed my leave yet, but I'm going on two little stints in this month. So
I saw that.
Yeah, so brace yourself.
I might have to cancel.
To decline or object.
Decline. Objection.
Impossible. Tickets are booked. We're out of here.
Where are you going?
I don't know if I can share that, eh? We're going to 5 nights to the Bahamas and another 4 nights to Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Do you have room in your bag?
No, we're going just to the Midlands, actually, for 2 or 3 days into the Midlands.
Are you coming to Invermoy?
And then we're going down to the Cape.
That's where I am.
Oh,
That's where they're based, absolutely.
That's where I'm running
nice
my
fishing there.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't do the fly fishing, but I believe it's...
You should
We've got a connection.
I was just going to say.
go fishing.
Yeah, I can knock yourself in. I can't promise, but I can try.
Well, you dodge all the cows there.
Actually, the cows are up in the mountains now, so you're good to go. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit more about where Winnie's based and what she does, who's, as I said, our guest. But we'd like to wish you, on behalf of the podcast team, all the very best for 2024. You might say, well, we're already a quarter into the month and we're wishing you, but it's our first time back. And to our loyal supporters and followers, all the very best to you and your family for 2024. Grace Stables is the name of Winnie Fourie's business. And but before we get to that, where did it all start for you, racing and horses? And what was your first experience with a horse? Take us back to that day.
Oh my, I was a youngster. I was like a little kid when I had my first horse. And but the funny thing was, we stayed in town, so we were always sneaking him in from the farm and keep it there on weekends.
Okay.
So that was my first. I've always been horse crazy, and so I had my first horse. He was called George, after a little crush that I had. I was like 6 years or 7 years old. So that's where it started. But I never was into the horses up until I went to America in 2000, and that was also at a point where I was managing piggeries and I just couldn't do it anymore. And someone said to me, oh, you know what, there's, in the Farmers Weekly, and there's ads of going as an intern into America. And there was a couple from South Africa that had a stud farm there. And so I was just like, I've got nothing to lose. Send up my stuff, my CV, everything. It was a week later, they said to me, oh, you know what, we would like to have you there, and would you like to come on? And I was like, sure, fine. And I literally packed up everything, told my family, and I headed over to America, and I was there for 14 years in the horses. So yeah, it was...
Whereabouts in America?
I was for a year in Kentucky. I was working at the breeding farm there, and then I went up to New York State.
Okay.
And it's also a South African guy that has started up on his own. But I also did work for Becky Thomas, she calls Stallions.
Okay.
She's quite a well-known breeder and pinnacle in America. She's got ties with Mickey Goss. when Summerhill was still running under Mickey. They still keep in contact. So she knew she liked to have all the South African interns, and she just think that we were really good hard workers.
South Africans are good hard workers. Most of us, anyway.
I was just going to say, true.
Most of us. Because that's interesting. So in America was a big part of your life so far and of your career.
Yeah.
Where were you born, Winnie? Because you got a special accent.
No, I was actually born in Durban. I'm an Afrikaans proper Boere meisie.
Sure. Okay.
Can't be a Buddha mate if you live born in Durban.
That shows you. I thought you were English.
You know what? For some reason, I still kept a little bit of my accent since America.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because you always make fun of me.
Correct. Because when he doesn't say half, she says half. I say it?
No.
So that's probably what it is. My bad.
But you have to stalk American, I know, because my cousin, they moved to Canada, and she was talking about tomatoes, and I said,
What's that?
Yes.
it's tomatoes.
Yeah. Even, you know what, like with water. It's not water, it's water, something like that.
Something like
and
that.
it was, it's tough, but you do pick up a little bit of
that's probably weird what it is. Yeah.
But but I've been, with the horses, I've always been with English clients, and it's for some reason the horse industry is English. And even though I speak to my of course my family Afrikaans, but every now and then an English word comes in, because for the love of me I cannot remember what the Afrikaans word was. Yeah. So, and I don't know, I guess it stuck. So
Winnie, let's talk about your experience. When you came back from America, did you go straight to Scott Brothers? No. Tell us about that and lead us into Scott Brothers, because that was a special time.
Yes. Actually, you know what? I learned a lot, I have to admit. No, when I came back, I did actually meet up with the Scots before the time when I was in America, that they heard that I was going to come back. And so I did have an interview, but they couldn't take me on at that time, straight away. And so I ended up at Clover Flay, just for like 2-3 months to help out with foaling season.
Okay.
But they couldn't employ me because was already fully established with their staff and stuff. And so I was at Clover Flay for 3 months. Then I ended up going back, and I said, you know what, I haven't had time for my family. Let me just spend a little bit of time. And then I ended up at like a game reserve, a lion park up in Cullinan.
Okay.
They do outrights for their overseas guests and stuff like that. So they wanted someone to manage their stable. So I said, okay, sure, fine. I went for the interview, and I haven't ridden in like over 20 years. And they said to me, can you ride? I said, yeah, I can, but I haven't been on a horse, for a long time. They put me on this massive Percheron. He's only 4 years old. I mean, I had my work cut out to try to get him just to go into a trot, not even to say a canter. I mean, that was just like
Well, it's so big.
a miracle if you can get him in a canter. But I passed flying colours, which was good, and I got the job. They also had polo horses, so I ended up getting a little bit involved with the polo, environment and stuff like that. It was a good time, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do. And then Mr. Scott contacted me, and he said to me, you know what, we are still looking for you. Our manager has left. Can you come? I said to him, sure.
And just before we talk about Scott Brothers, which is, funnily enough, right opposite the road now from where Winnie's operating from, Invermore Estate, but more about that just now. Have you been to Clover Flay in the Cape?
No.
There's a lot of things on your bucket list that you still need to tick.
No, I haven't got any
Stallion
money.
setups.
Money? What are you talking about? Money? There's plenty of money. We've just got to find it. Plenty of money. There's money all over the place. We've just got to find it. But maybe in your time when you were there, they hadn't built that beautiful pub up on the John Costa's built a beautiful pub up on the hill there, and you look down into the valley, and of course there's that mountain. The mountain was obviously there when you're there. Andrew, you can't believe the view, and there are really some spectacular sights in South Africa.
Oh, yes, no, that's
Really special.
But but their Stallion complex, like you said, I haven't been when they must have run.
Yeah, there's been huge alterations,
Yeah,
obviously.
because I'm talking now like 10 years ago that I was there. So, but I was actually at one of the other little, because they've got the sections of where their yearlings are and where the broodmares are and the foaling and their quarantine. Because I was actually managing their quarantine station, because they had a little quarantine station for when there was foals getting sick or stuff like that. So that's what I was actually managing at that time. So I wasn't really at the main property. I was in sort of one of the back farm, if I can say the back establishments. It's where you go further along. Yeah. But I mean, even the Stallion complex, and when I was there, is amazing. That place is, and that's where actually, when I was there, the first time I actually went to see Dynasty as well, and go to Main Chance Farm, and yeah. So I haven't, for me, being in the horses, you don't go much. When you've got your own place or you manage, you don't get to see a lot of other farms. So.
I've been to Main Chance.
Have you? Okay,
it's beautiful there. It's gorgeous.
Winnie, the Scott brothers, the late Mr. Scott. I'll never forget my first experience, and you would have had many experiences with Mr. Scott and possibly on the farm too. You've been to Scott Brothers. Yeah. So we arrive at the farm and I get offered a sandwich. The sandwich was crispy bacon and peanut butter. I looked at the Scott and I thought, we're in this beautiful stud office with all these photos and silverware around us, and really Inyoni spot with Mr. Scott, who was a classy man, and Mrs. Scott, who was a classy woman. And I thought, well, this is all that there is to eat. I better eat. And I tell you something, they were the most delicious sandwiches I've ever eaten. So
it is. That's something with Joyce was always, she knew exactly how to treat the clients and whoever came to visit.
I always used to go to the Scott Brothers. They used to have Stallion days and things like that.
Yeah.
Usually ended up in a
drunken state. Winnie, how many years were you there with Scott Brothers? Must have been quite a lot.
I think it was 5 years.
Okay, so
it
good
was quite a bit.
5 years.
Yeah.
And working with Mr. Scott and Mrs. Scott must have been, he was a strong man. He was he knew what he wanted.
Yeah, he was very set in his own ways, yes, I have to say. But very much. I learned a lot from him, I have to say. He was also actually guided me the day that we were sitting in the office, and he was like, drew up this whole budget for me. When if you want to go visit, you need to take all these things in account. And so he really was helping me in that little first step of starting up on my own. And but the nice thing was with Mr. Scott, the first thing when I went for my interview with him, we were sitting like this, and he says to me, "Why aren't you married?" Without any other questions or nothing, he said to me, "Why aren't you married?" And I was like, I don't know, I guess I just haven't met the right person yet or something. And he's like, okay. And then he started asking me all that. So he totally took me aback with that first question. Okay. And
that was always him, direct to the point.
Very much.
Exactly where you stood. And if he wanted to ask you something, he asked you.
And that, I have to say, we really got along well. He was strict, and like I said, he was set in his own ways. And there were times that he was like very adamant of this is what he wants to do, and it doesn't matter. You can try to prove him wrong; it's just not going to work. But you know what he did, especially in the end as well. He, with our sales and stuff, he really did, which made me feel like I started to learn quite a bit. Was if from the trainers come to look at horses, and there's a specific horse I would really like to show them, and they start hesitating. Then Mr. Scott would go and says, "You know what? If she says to look at this horse, look at it." Yeah. And I really appreciated that from him, because then I feel like he really
trusted in you and your judgment. Absolutely.
Exactly. And it did end up going to say, well, actually, no, she is right. This is quite a nice horse. So, I really learned a lot from him, especially with sales prep and stuff. I'm still struggling on my own to try to get into that. He was the main one when it comes to the feeding and stuff like that. But to get to the horses to where they should be, with the horse walker and those kind of things, that was not all that I had to do. But he was this is how much you feed. And on a regular basis, we would always check the horses and do this, do that. And, so he really knew exactly what he wanted. And he did get his results.
Yeah, and certainly.
We had two of the best stallions in the country at the time, a Jungle Cove, which he sold to the Cape, which I think cost him, and Favaros.
in your time, there were quite a few stallions. In your 5 years, there was Crusade, the Apache wasn't there.
Yeah, Magog,
Magog.
Eightfold Path, Miesk Approval.
That's right.
Overlord?
Overlord, possibly.
He was there.
So.
I never was there with Atso. He had Atso, but he left before I was there. Overlord was there, but then he ended up leaving. Miesk Approval, Magog, Crusade, the Apache.
Life is a funny thing, because there you spent 5 years of your career when he did at Scott Brothers. You would think a couple of years on, you would be operating your own business across the road at Invermoy Estate. How does life work out? Isn't
And
it
you know
amazing?
that the clients that I've got now is the ones that was with Scott Brothers.
Jeez,
And that's how actually when I started up with Grey Stables was, and I actually said to him the other day, I said, you know what, you and Paul Peter always got me into trouble when they come to the farm to come and look at horses. And then they're like, Winnie, come here now. You must come sit here. And then we would now look at all the horses. And so they would totally occupy me where I don't get to the other stuff to do. So, and needless to say, afterwards I would get really a couple of words to say, you know what, this is not your only client, you've got more clients that you need to take attention to. And so anyway, but you know that but Costa was the one that helped me to start up.
Costa, okay.
Yeah.
Good man, Costa.
Very good man.
You know those colours, Costa de Costa. He races in Gauteng with Tony Peter. He races in KwaZulu-Natal with Dennis Bosch. It's got the black with the diamond, the pink sleeves. You'll see it.
You know that he's got one that's still Night Warrior. You know Night Warrior?
No. He's getting old now. He needs to see the footage. He needs to
but
watch
Night
the
Warrior
race.
isn't a young one anymore.
We lost that memory.
Yeah, but, what I wanted to ask you, so sorry to interrupt. So Costa and Paul were instrumental in getting you going, and obviously with the late Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
We'll talk about your clients in a moment, but you know, and I want you to answer this too. I know you haven't been to a sale to look at horses, but you have in your career too. Everyone's got a different opinion. Everyone's got a different, and obviously a breeder and an owner or something will speak highly of their horse, no matter what, if there's a defect or if there's not which you understand that. If you're selling something, then you're not going to say, well, here's this filly, she's a terrible filly, she's got an offset. It's normal. You're going to Pick and Pay to buy things, and they're not going to say, well, don't buy these tomatoes, they're rotten. It's human nature. But the point I'm making is everybody can see for themselves and everybody can make their own decision. How do you take it when, you think, well, I've got a couple of horses on the sale that are nice horses, you believe, and an owner might come to you and say, well, no, I don't like that. Or maybe they might not say it. I've owned horses that have got shocking knees that have won 6. I've got horses that are beautifully confirmed that can't get out of their own way. How do you handle that when somebody comes to you, if they do, and say, well, I don't like this horse?
Yeah, but the breeders actually get quite attached to it.
Which is also understandable.
Yes, you do. There is the odd ones that you do get attached to. And, I always say, if he might not like his horse, but someone else might.
Absolutely.
So you have to have that mindset to say you can't cater for everybody. If everyone likes a specific horse, then you're going to pay millions for one horse and nothing for the next. You need to have for everybody out there. And to be honest, I've got a horse that I mentioned to the trainer now, that to say, this specific horse that was bought at the yearling sales, also by a client of mine that was looking at it, but no, he didn't like the way the knee is. And so Mike ended up buying this horse. You must see the specimen. He is like amazing horse. And you know what, the way he's been, because he was with me now after the sales, and the way he's been coming along and the work that I did with him, he just gives you that little good goosebumps, you just get those horses, it's just like an awe. And I really hope that, they do bring it in to the track as well, because sometimes somewhere along the line they lose it. But you know what someone else doesn't like,
somebody else will.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
so
some people
you have
like
to be
it.
open-minded.
Yeah, some like a well-topped horse and bad legs, other ones like good legs.
It doesn't matter the top. You just quite hit the nail on the head though. When you've got to be open-minded, because and also too, so each person might have a different budget. If you've got millions of rands worth of budget, you can go for the horse that's just about faultless. If you've got a shoestring budget, like most of us, anyway, you might have to go for the ones that are a bit cheaper and might have a little problem.
Mind you, I think I posted something on the Gold Circle website.
Yes.
Which I've got for programs and everything. All the top price horses in sales in Australia. They're not too good.
But you know what? I'm going to be honest. When I was up at the August sale, there was a beautiful grey Hat Montano, and so I was looking at it, and because sometimes clients of mine would say, "Winnie, can you go and have a look at this horse? Can you go and have a look at that horse?" And so I had a few that I went and I looked at, and there were some nice ones, and then there were some that I was like, "Hang on." I said, "No, I don't think this is my opinion." So, at the end of those horses goes for over 140 or 150, then I'm like, okay, Winnie, what are you missing here?
What did you miss? Yeah,
absolutely. Then that is for me mind-boggling, because if you listen to, everyone wants a perfect horse, so you're going to pay for a perfect horse. But then all of a sudden you get one that is like this, or, that's just totally out of whack. But yet they would still pay a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, really, okay, obviously I'm not as good as what I think I am, and then I feel like an idiot to say, do not buy this horse. And then he says, "When you look what it just went for." And I'm like,
there's no rules, and there's all in shapes and sizes.
But I mean, also you find that some trainers only buy from certain farms.
Yes, that's for sure.
Do you find that difficult? I mean,
yeah. Especially when you're a small breeder and you're unknown, and you don't have the commercial kind of stallions like Dynasties or Slavanos, and you've got your little Magoks or your Wings of Desire, those kind of things. It's a hard knock, because that's what happened with me when I started my first ones. I had a Crusade, which was beautiful. I had a Wings of Desire, and I had a Mamba in Seattle. And a top trainer came to me and he said to me, "Winnie, they're nice." He says, "But they're not commercial." He says, "If you really want to be up there, make sure you've got stallions that's commercial." And and it's tough to, when you just started up, to actually get that. But hopefully now in future I've got some really nice stock and mares that got covered to nice.
Yeah, well, the covering fees are expensive.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. Even the green line was 250.
And you need from here to go from here down to the Cape. It's a lot of, exactly. And then still they keep the horse there for at least 2 months before it comes back, and then just hope and pray that actually when he does, well, first of all, that nothing happens. Exactly. Or you do have the foal, and then something happens as a yearling, or or you do end up going to a sale, and they just not like what you expect, or you're not getting that money back. It's it's a tough game, I have to say.
No, it's not a game for people with money.
Like me.
and patience, let me tell you. Now, Grey Stables is the name of your business. So you breed as Grey Stables, you trade, and you do pre-train everything. How did you get that name?
Grace is actually my middle name.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and someone said to me the other day that, or actually not the other day, 2-3 years ago, he said, "You know what, Winnie, I actually really do like the name of your stables, because it means that the grace of God is over your stables."
Yes.
And I am fortunate that most of my clients are Christians as well. So, and they do put that connection with my stable. So it does make it feel a little bit more special than just.
Okay.
But I did when I did the name. It's like I do want to bring myself in it, and it just sort of fit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So how did you get to Ilvermoy?
Yes, a good question.
Do you guys really want to know? No, you know what? I started out down at Backworth in Camperdown. Yeah. So when I did start up my stables, I went down. Keith actually offered me, because they, as you know, Backworth at that time had cut down most of their horses. So they had so they had a handful. So he said to me, "I've got stables for you, I've got paddocks, so if you want to start up." They had the horse walker, everything. And so I was there for, I would say 4 years. Yeah, because I'm about 5 years now that I started. But then they ended up changing the operation to a guest house. And they needed some of the stables was converted, and the house that I stayed in, they needed. And so I went over to Kamarkstad for a couple of months, because he's got this amazing training track. So So I actually was there for a little bit, but it just didn't work out for me. I couldn't expand. There wasn't enough, the stables. It was difficult to have 2 operations like that. And then, so when I was starting to look for something else, everyone said to me, "Oh, why don't you call the person that's at Inyoni, because they've got stables." And
What's his name?
Paul Kutsia.
Paul Kutsia, that's right.
So I ended up calling him, and he said to me, "By all means." So he gave me a breakdown of what he would charge me, and I was like, "Sorry, this is not going to work for me. I mean, I might as well go and buy my own place." And so I said to him, "No, you know what? I restructured it, and I said to him, I should be fine if we can do it at this cost." And then he said to me, "Okay, fine." And it was within a week. I was packed up, horses on the float, and I moved in. And I've been there now for just over 6 months. So
And
it's
enjoying
been
it.
I love it there. It hasn't been easy, I will admit. To get settled in like this and those kind of things. But things is looking good for me now. My horses are looking good. I've actually grew from when I started out 4 years ago with 13 horses. I'm up to now 35 now. And, and my clients that I've got now just keep sending me horses,
Talk to us about your client base. I mean, you don't have to mention them by name, but I mean, you say you build a relationship, don't you?
You know what I did? It's like I said, with Costa was the one that got me on my feet. Out of my 13 stables, he had 12 horses there, and I was only going to do like yearling preps, those kind of things, and the odd brood me here and there. Then he actually said to me the one day, he says, "Oh, Winnie, why don't you do like pre-training?" I said, I've got no idea about pre-training. I've never done it, nothing. And he was like, "Oh, you just put a saddle on, that's all." And I was like, "Yeah, I wish it was that easy." But it did trigger something. And I did have a groom that could ride and stuff like that. So we slowly started. I did a lot of reading and things just to see, what you do, watch some videos, and try to get input from the trainers and stuff like that. So I started up with him. But then when COVID came, that was a little bit of a tough spot at one stage because all his horses went into training, and nothing came in. But then slowly started getting some mares in, and it started building up again. So then I had this client from Joburg he trains with Bar and Boertes, and he's an old client of Scott Brothers as well, that bought a lot of the Magog fillies and stuff from Scott's. And then he ended up, I saw him up at the sales. He bought my one of my 2-year-olds, and he said to me, "You know what, when it's going to take time, let's make a deal. If I buy this," because he bought it after the sales, "and we'll come up with an agreement." I said, "By all means." And that was the beginning of me and him. Sure. And then he just started sending me horses. And, he's one of my biggest ones at the moment. And, and it's nice that he has got a lot of trust in me. He's, like I said, a lot of his spelling horses comes to me that needs a bit of a break. So I've gotten some of his broodmare now. We've got the odd one that we have gone into a partnership. And and then the year before last, because she's now a 3-year-old, then Mark Moroney from the Poets Corner.
Now, I'm glad. You remember our friend Mark Moroney? I'm glad.
I missed this. I was meant
to wear his hat. I'm glad you touched on him because you can share with us your involvement with him from the Poets Corner, because amongst all this pre-training and breeding and all that, you also look after his interests and his involvement in South Africa. Tell us about that. How did you meet this lunatic? And he will never mind us calling him a lunatic, because that's what he is, and we like lunatics. We had him here on the show, and he was just a treat.
Yeah. No, you know what, actually, that filly gave us grace.
Yes.
So she was on the KZN sales, and he contacted me before the sales about this filly. But by that time I already had it entered, she's in the catalogue, everything, it was like just a month or so before the sales. He was almost borderline harassing me. "I want that filly, sell that filly to me." And I was like, "If you want her, you can buy her on the sale." Which actually I should have sold it before the time, because I would have gotten a lot more money.
Isn't it amazing how it works out like that? So, not all the time, but
no,
it
but
can go either way.
That's the thing. And you know how for me, first time at KZN. It's a Hat Montano, you know, she's only one of 2 on there. She's a nice individual. Needless to say, he ended up getting her for cheap, if I can say cheap. You're probably going to...
You hear that, Mark?
Stop it now, Mark. Don't be naughty now.
No, he knows it. I do mention it often. I'm not going to sell him any more cheap horses. So, because he ended up getting the bonus as well when she won her second start. So, so he bought both of them, and he ended up sending them back to me to get them ready for training, and that's how I got involved with Carl Hewitson as well. Okay. So, gotten the horses ready, and that was basically the start of our business relationship that we've got. So, and he just kept on sending horses, and then he all of a sudden decided to, you know what, he wants to go into the breeding, and he bought African Angel, ended up sending her to me, and then, as you know, he ended up becoming a KZN breeder, you know, so he's one of the members now, and
Irishman, KZN breeder, Irishman.
Mix well.
Yeah, so he's just like, you know, he's slowly building up himself, but hopefully one day, you know, we'll be able to get our own place, he's dreaming to have his own stud farm. But you know, it's just not the easiest.
He sat in that very chair where you sat, and he kept us so entertained. Remember the delicious whiskey he brought us? And
Whiskey was good.
Whiskey was absolutely. He was supposed to. He hates flying, as he told us.
Well, he's been threatening to come again.
Yeah, he has been threatening. I just think he needs to get pushed over the edge, and he'll be back out. And if he doesn't come with that bottle,
Carl said he wasn't going over there.
You know what, he was going to come at Christmas, because we had Pray for Rain and Give Us Grace that ran on Christmas Eve.
Christmas
yeah, the
Eve.
24th, yeah. And I know he was going to come over, but he got horribly sick. His chest was like, he could barely speak, and he was coughing his lungs out. So it was like, you know what, he should not be flying over with the way he was. And he was very bummed, I have to say. He was very disappointed that he couldn't be here, especially when Pray for Rain won, and then I actually was walking him in, leading him in, and so. But then with Give Us Grace, it won on New Year's Day, so it just sort of made up a little bit because she ran second that day, and. But he's been promising he's going to come. He never came to look at his horses at my place when he was here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said to him that, you know, that you owe me a visit now.
For sure. He needs to come back for a visit.
Exactly, yeah. Because
So
otherwise...
I think we'll get whiskey. We'll get whiskey again, guaranteed. It was it July Day or Gold Cup Day when he...
Yeah, the Gold Cup Day, yeah.
I mean, that experience of Pray for Rain winning, with Lyle and that famous interview. I mean, you know, the Irish are very colourful. Most people are colourful. You know, everybody just lets the F-bomb loose every now and again, and he just happened to do it in his interview. But he was just so excited, and I mean, you were with him. I mean, you must have felt the atmosphere unbelievable. That famous interview with all the Fs flying.
But he says to me, I can't even remember. Afterwards, he was like, he can't remember anything until we started showing him the replay.
No, we had him on the podcast. He was most embarrassed.
Yes, but that's okay.
You know, actually, I've got a video of him dancing just before the race, because he was so nervous. And right in the front, on the grass, there was that little a section where they were playing music and stuff like that. And it was actually quite a nice song, I have to admit. And he went out, and I won't forget, he had his hands in his pockets like this, and he started just going on with the music. And the next minute, he was just like going, and the people started cheering him, and the more the cheering, he was like...
The more he was going...
So I've got this.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. And then, I mean, and then 2 minutes later, here this horse wins. But you know that before the race, because Pray for Rain wasn't the favourite in the beginning, and because I took him down to the races, he drove with me. Every second person, he says, I think it was race 10, number 4, we're going to pray for rain today. He says, and then everyone was looking at him, he says, don't worry, race 10, number 4, put your money. That horse is going to win. That horse is going to win. And eventually, as he was coming into the racetrack, he was telling every single person. So by the time Pray for Rain went off, he was actually the favourite.
Yeah,
because he said, I didn't make any money. I know.
And at least he shared the love. That's the most important thing. He shared the love, so everybody was able to win some cash.
Yeah. That's because I didn't bump into him before the race.
Well, you're going to come racing for that, just saying. But anyway, that interview was outstanding. As I said, you know, Yeah, so
That's
some might not have
something
enjoyed it,
that's-
some might have
yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah.
It's again, you can't please everybody, but yeah, that was it. Winnie, your family involvement in horses, not at all. No, so it's just you, but they obviously
Just me.
support you and your
Very
interests.
much,
and-
yes. I actually, my older sister, I've got a filly that's by Cape Town.
Right.
She went in because, like Giver's Grace, she was given to me. That's where her name comes from as well. She was given to me by Winhamstad, by Ingrid. She was cutting down. The mare was 20 years old, so she had the foal. And so when it comes to naming Giver's Grace, I was like, she was given to me. It just thought it fitted and stuff like that. So then she had another mare, Wooden Doll. And then I was joking with my sister the one day, and I said to her, "Oh, you know what? Do you want to come in with me? This is how much she wants for it." And she said, "No, okay, fine, we'll do that." And that's the filly Bubbles on Ice.
Okay.
So, which unfortunately was a disappointment, and so I do have my sister that is, she is part with me. We've got now the yearling there, the Cape Town Noor, and so she's basically the only one from my family at the moment that is part. Everyone is just sitting on the sidelines, but they are big supporters of mine. They. If it's not for them, I don't know. I probably won't be here today.
Who does your pedigree?
I use Willie Coates. He does. Him and Baron Boerters, he's got a system that they normally do.
Okay.
So, I do go to him for to get advice. I do use my own, try to get my own discretion. I'll use like the Gold Mine. I will go through the size book. I'll look back onto previous racehorses. The pedigrees, what that specific bloodline has produced, does it work with the Stallion? Has to be been a lot more, and like with Mike does his own as well, but we do communicate quite a bit, do a little bit of research.
Listen, I was see Sean Terry often split horses by skizzle, and so it's definitely not commercial. And I remember there was a Jetmaster, Fort something. Don't remember, Beluga or Fort Beluga.
Fort Beluga, yes.
Yeah.
So he had that good success from.
Yeah, but it does. There's always, especially with Mike too, because we sometimes will have like a little debate on when it comes to the pedigrees and who to breed to and stuff like that. And he says you find it's good to have a good stallion, but he believes a good racehorse will come from the dam. If the dam has produced it, then there should be something there. So he always follows to see what the female line looks like, and then we will see if it does fit with whatever stallion we choose for.
I remember the Tessio quote. He said, "A champion race mare might not be a good breed mare, but her progeny seldom fail."
It's actually true, because I have seen quite a few type horses that just does not have
I just
anything.
want to ask Mr. Phil Giorgio, please, if you wouldn't mind. I heard a rumour today that there is Andrew Harrison, Phil Giorgio, and who was the third person? Tony Jelensky. Like you get Giorgio Armani, a swimsuit edition. We're getting the Giorgio Jelensky swimsuit calendar edition for 2024. Is that right?
No, it's Speedos.
Speedos.
No, it's not Borat. It's a Borat.
The Borat's the next up to the Speedos.
Next up. So it's Andrew Harrison as the director, and you and Tony Jelensky as the models, and it's going to be called Giorgio Jelensky.
And it came from the front row of the Springbok team.
Okay.
And one of them is a hooker. You work it out which one.
These are all hooligans, eh? We've got hooligans around us here. Anyway, back to the stallions. We're talking about stallions now, Tony. Do you have that's you're talking about matching the pedigrees,
Yeah.
and you personally, do you have any stallions that you've really your favourite?
That I fancy?
And I know some people say, when you talk about that, but all stallions are good. Most stallions are good, but people have their preferences.
Yeah,
Do you like anybody in
to be
particular?
honest, I always liked Fire Away, because that filly that I just sold at the 2-year-old sale, she was a Fire Away, and when I bought the mare, she was involved to him, and that was one of the reasons that I actually did end up buying her.
Okay.
I don't know why I've got no. I think just maybe the way he looks, his pedigree. There's just something about that
I
horse.
like Fire Away too.
So, but also that declaration of peace.
Yes.
I think he's going to be quite a nice horse. I really hope that, you know, he will be the next one, because now that we've lost Lancaster Bomber, you know, that he would actually step up and, you know, fill that space.
KZN actually needs a top.
We do.
We
We
need a
had
Jungle
one, I
Cobra,
just want to say,
yes.
New
Follow
Predator,
us.
no, but you know what, New Predator,
Predator was unlucky.
that was now a horse.
But there are also. You enjoyed your podcast time with us, didn't you?
It was beautiful, beautiful. Tell me, has Harrison been making any contribution to this discussion, or is he just standing here with a mouthful of teeth?
I'm standing here. I'm like,
You know, he's the worst tipster on God's earth. He tipped the whole card about 42 years ago and never had a winner since.
I'm still living on my reputation.
So, don't worry, I was also apparently it's 1,800 days since I've tipped a winner, but obviously a lot of people nod off when we tip winners. But never that in mind. Back to so fire away for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the country on a whole, and we KZN people, we're sitting
Yeah.
in KZN now,
Yeah.
but we've got some very good stallions and some young up and coming ones too around the country. So
I was
it really
just
is
going to say,
exciting.
but you know what, for us, I do think a stallion that I saw a little while ago that really, really impressed me, and I did end up getting a mare to him, it was last winter.
Okay, yes.
When I saw that horse, I mean, he's got everything going for him. I know he's got his runners now, and I really hope that they actually, you know, come out and do something, because if I look at the way he looks then, and I've seen some of his babies, and they do sell, you know, for some reason they do bring in a little bit of money. I just really hope that they'll come to the track as well.
Where does he stand?
Clifton Stud.
Clifton Stud, yeah, correct. And when you go fishing there again, stop fishing and look at some horses.
But I thought you were going to come fishing there by me.
No, fish with
Yeah, we go fishing in
My son knows Paul very well, so
Is it?
yes, yeah.
Then you guys must say, well, why do you, then you can make a deal for you too.
Yes,
You know, get from both sides, and then
When you talk to us about your staff, you've got obviously good men and women that support you.
now, yes, yeah, I did struggle a lot. I took some of Scott Brothers when I started up, because when we closed down, we had to retrench quite a few, and there was like 2 or 3 that came down with me. But I'm not the easiest, I will admit that, because, you know, I'm always there, I'm hands-on, I'm there 24/7, I'm just not like, you know, and I do sometimes get a little bit uptight when things does not go according to plan. So I had a little bit of a bad luck in staff. You know, I had one that did a little bit of a violence to me, but you know, I ended up reporting him and stuff. But then I've got the 3 amazing guys now. 2 of them as riders, and they do a magnificent job. I have to say, the way they are working with the horses, and you know, backing my youngsters, and you know, he said to me the other day, he said, "Well, it's never been this easy to get on the horse." And I timed it from when we put the saddle on, and for him to get on the horse and take him out all by himself was 30 minutes.
Sure.
And it wasn't even an easy horse either. You know, I was a little bit concerned, and because he was quite coltish. But I mean, they just, you know, he's amazing. He's just got the touch, and I've got a little youngster there too. You know, he's very good with riding. So, but I do have the one that does all my work for me now, and he's also good with injections. You know, he's like overall very good hand for me.
Okay, fantastic.
You know, so,
We're in the home straight now, so we're coming towards the end of our interview, but just 1 or 2 other little things. You know, and anyone that works with horses doesn't often have time for hobbies, and knowing you're an animal lover, you've got, you know, a lot of dogs and cats at home, etc. But anything that you do in your spare time, if you get any, I mean, any hobbies or interests, what do you do if you've got half an hour to take a deep breath, what do you do?
no, I like to restore stuff, furniture, and
Okay.
you know, refurbish or whatever you call it. You know, because I actually had a desk. An office desk that was stuck in one of the workshops there, but the top has gotten like all warped with rain and things, so it was like doing this, and I said to Paul, I said, you know, would you mind, I'm looking for a desk to put in for my house as my office, and he said, yeah, you can take this. And I was looking at this like, okay, but everything else was still intact, but a nice old one. And I actually redid the whole thing. You know, I took the top off, I put a new top on, and then I ended up putting a leather topping over it and with the little pins, and And when you look at it now, it looks like it's a totally brand new thing. So I do like to take old furniture stuff and just refurbish it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So,
How can anybody get hold of you? I mean, have you got a website? Are you on Instagram, social media? Or if they
I
want to
do
follow
actually.
you?
I'm on Facebook. I am on Grey Stables at Facebook. I do have an Instagram for myself. I don't think for Grey Stables though. I don't have a website. You know, like I said, I'm still small and I'm trying to find my feet. But I am on WhatsApp. My number is on Facebook. So if there is anyone who would like to contact me.
So Facebook would be the get to go.
Yes,
Search bar, obviously in
just
the
Grey
search bar,
Stables,
Grey Stables, and it'll
yeah.
come up. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
social media and Facebook's, well, part of everyone's life.
That's true. Yeah.
Did you
yeah.
see that Winnie brought us a present? Have you noticed what's on the table yet?
Well, you fat bastard, you can.
I was at the gym. Let's have a look at Winnie brought us. I was at the gym last night getting pummeled and beaten up. So I can afford to.
Didn't you?
I did do a good job, yeah, absolutely. And thank you to Winnie for our present, and which we're going to share with everybody just now and have with a cup of tea. Winnie, we've got a few little bits of news and things that Andrew and I normally talk about. So
Okay.
relax, enjoy it. You know, if you give us a moment or two, we'll chat. We're not
All
ignoring you, but we
That's
just need to
fine.
cover a few things
Okay.
on the podcast. Talking about news, the Lomeron's King's Plate, come and gone. What a performance.
It was brilliant.
It was outstanding. See it again, went up the inside, looked, you know.
He looked like he
and
was
then-
going to get it. He was just outpaced in the end.
Sure, it was unbelievable. Well, in your opinion, over the World Sports Betting Met, which we're coming up to, which I'm looking forward to going to, if you can authorise my leave. Well, I should be taking you to go, but anyway, that's for another debate. Over the extra distance, do you see a change of result between the two?
Possibly.
Okay.
I'd see it again. He was looking good.
Yes.
Pierre gave him the perfect ride. He was just outpaced. Charles Dickens, amazing turn of foot.
And again, it's
But you know, it's also the pace of the race too. I don't know. I didn't really watch it really carefully.
there is people with opinions, and that's great. And you're entitled to my opinion. I mean, your opinion.
Oh, thank you.
Do you think Charles Dickens over the extra will still be able to run it as well, or do you?
I
A
think
lot of
he'll-
people are saying that he seems to be an out-and-out 1600.
No, I think he's got the class to
go through to the
go
distance.
10 furlongs.
I agree
The
with you.
kennel with 10 furlongs is quite easy. Actually.
I agree with you.
I remember getting egg on my face for saying wolf power wouldn't see it out.
Well, lucky you like eating eggs.
Yeah, a lot of eggs.
Then Rachel Venica, how nice, Winnie. Rachel Venica, female jockey. Apprenticeship is finished. She's changed into a senior jockey, and she's riding. Nothing's changed. She's just
No,
riding.
nothing's
normal.
changed. She's very good. I mean, she was a bit unlucky yesterday with 2 short heads.
Yes, shame. Yeah. And then also the news is that there's a trainer from Gauteng relocating to KwaZulu-Natal.
News to me.
News to you. I was told this morning that Baron Burtis relocated. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Baron Burtis relocating to KwaZulu-Natal as of the end of the month, and I'm sure that all KwaZulu-Natalians will welcome him with open
I remember
arms.
I think there was talk of him moving to Ashburton at one stage. But then he got
Yes.
scared off because they said Ashburton was closing.
Could be closing now. He's coming to some of it. And in actual fact, I think one of Baron Burtis' patrons is Mr. Willie Coates, who's one of your patrons. So obviously you get through to the connection. So we welcome him here to KwaZulu-Natal, Baron Burtis. Sales. There are 2 sales coming up. There's no what's the word? There's no bias on this podcast. We tell everybody what's happening out in the racing industry. The first sale is the Cape Premier Yearling Sale, proudly hosted by Cape Racing Sales and the Tattersalls. It takes place on Thursday, the 25th of January 2024, the date that you need to sign the leave from. It takes place at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. So this is the very first sale of 2024. Now I'm going to ask the team just to zoom in so you can all see the catalogue. Those catalogues are available at training centres, race courses, etc. So that's the Cape Premier Yearling Sale, powered by Tattersalls and Cape Racing Sales, 25 January. That's sale 1 of 2024. Then the second sale is the Bloodstock South Africa Cape Yearling Sale for 2024. So both sales of the year start off down in the fairest Cape, 25 February 2024, and it's the Hollywood Bets Kenilworth Racecourse, Cape Town, and that's the catalogue that's also available at all the different training centres, racecourses, etc. So those are the two sales. Plenty of betting opportunities, Andrew. There's soccer, greyhound racing, early morning Australian racing. So there's plenty of opportunities for the punters.
Yep, I like greyhound racing.
Yeah,
I like to watch it. I wouldn't like to bet on it, but it's actually good fun to watch.
I actually saw the other day for the first time at Scottsville. It was on one of the screens.
One of the TVs there, okay, yeah, greyhound racing. Interesting, and they can scoot those greyhounds, eh?
No, because I remember they started greyhound racing in Swaziland when I was there, and my father and I we went to watch one of those things down in Manzini, and every back they came around the corner and crashed into the fence, so we gave up at the end. Everyone we back couldn't take the turn.
There's also, I don't want to give the wrong statistics, and I just want to read out the stats from Hollywood. They're having a wonderful time too. I just want to quickly give, it may have changed by the time you listen to this podcast, but just having a quick look here. There is, at the time of recording, as I said, it might have changed by 1 or 2, but when I got the message, Hollywood had 3 winners to go to get to 500.
Wow.
And Alison Wright got win number 497 with Ibuto. So what they're doing, they're putting up an incentive. The trainer, jockey and groom who achieves that 500th winner will get the following. The winning trainer will get 50,000 Rand. Is it too late to take out our trainer's license? The winning jockey will get 50,000. We can't become a jockey, we're too overweight. And 10,000 for the winning groom. Well, it's not too late to maybe go and start grooming a few horses.
20,000 for the bloke who tips it.
Well, that could be an option. Hollywood, that's a good idea.
Because the Bruto was their 49th winner for the season.
If it was their 49, correct, it was their 100% for the season, yeah. So all systems go. Hollywood Syndicate, we wish you all the best, and we certainly love and enjoy following your successes with great interest. All that's left for us to say is 2 things. Please, you will hear us going on about liking, subscribing. It's the Gallop YouTube channel. Gallop YouTube channel, we spoke about it on TV yesterday. You can see all the replays, all the reruns, the interviews, TV shows, racing analysts' opinions. It's just outstanding. Then you go onto the Tab Gold website. It's all there for you to see. So please, especially on the Gallop YouTube channel, go and subscribe, like, and follow us. We need and value your support.
Unfortunately, you'll have to watch Inferno on the show. So.
Well, that's why the hits are just going up and up and up and up. But Winnie, on behalf of the In the Box Seat podcast, and we wish you all the very best. Thanks for driving all the way from the heart of Moy River, Nottingham Road area, to come down and see us, and we wish you and your team all the very best. And
Thank you so much.
And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at the races and at the sales and all the rest of it. But all the best to you in Grey Stables.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Can you take all sorted. Can you take a New Year's resolution? Because I got a New Year's resolution to a friend of mine who was not very good on WhatsApp. I said, please take the New Year's resolution, start WhatsApping better. The New Year's resolution you must be is to not be so grumpy. Is that possible at all?
No.
That's a wrap from all of us. Be safe, love to your families and loved ones, and we'll see you as always in the number 1 box. Thank you for watching this week's episode of In the Box Seat podcast right until the very end. And we hope that you enjoyed it, because we certainly did. If you missed last week's podcast, In the Box Seat podcast with Andrew and myself, please go and watch it here. And last week's episode will be right there for you to go and enjoy and watch, as we know you will certainly enjoy In the Box Seat podcast from last week.